Hi all. Today we will be discussing about the TB of other joints. And we have already discussed about TB of spine and TB of hip. Next we will be going for TB of shoulder, TB of elbow, TB of wrist, TB of knee and TB of ankle joint. So today we will be discussing in detail about what are the features or what are the special characteristics which we can found in each of these conditions. So first one is TB shoulder. Usually it's an uncommon infection which we can found in the population. It starts as a osteitis but rarely diagnosed until arthritis has supervened. Because it's an infection and it starts with some mild symptoms of osteitis until in a stage where the arthritis is predominant and some huge difficulties faced by the patient. So till that time the disease may be undiagnosed in a stage where there is arthritis and where there is a huge disruption of bone, then it may be diagnosed with the help of x-rays. So maybe for the tibial shoulder can form some abscess and sinus. So abscess means there can be some kind of pus collection inside the joint or inside the humeral head or in the glenoid fossa, or there can be some sinus. Sinus just means there can be some drainage of pus from the joint to the surrounding tissues or to the skin or to the joint surfaces. In some cases, you have get fibrosis tendency or ankylosis. So fibrosis just means that the joint surfaces come together and there can be some fibrous formations in between the joint surfaces. So if there is a fibrous formation in between the joint surfaces, what will happen? The joint go for ankylosing or the reduction of movement or absence of movement. So that's what happens if there is an ankylosis caused due to fibrosis. And if there is no X-ray, the term usually used is Caris Sika. So that means if there is no much more pus formation or if there is no drainage in the joint surface, this is called as Caris Sika. Caris Sika means the joint surfaces got disturbed or destroyed, but there is no much more amount of pus collection or abscess or exudate formation. So that is what called as Caris Sika. So this is what you can see in Caris Sika. In Caris Sika, there will be an erosion and destruction of humeral head and the glenoid cavity with the soft tissue swelling along with the fibrotic opacities in the right upper and middle lobe. So mainly in the lungs we can found we will be able to see the normal TB changes as a fibrotic opacities which we can found in the right upper and middle lobes. But when it comes to the shoulder, the head and the glenoid labrum can go for disruption without a exudate formation. So that is what mainly called as Caris Sika. In this you can found the head and the glenoid labrum are destroyed mainly because of this infection, and in this we can found that there is no much more exudate formation. So that is what we called as Caris Sika. What are the clinical features? It's commonly seen in adult age group, complain of constant ache and stiffness for many months or years. As I have said, it is undiagnosed for an year, for a long period of time. Maybe the patient have some complaints about pain or some difficulties in movements, but usually the patients won't take it as a serious problem. So that's how they might have neglected the case for so many years. But at some time, they may feel that it's going for worsening, and they won't be able to go for much more movements. So at that time, the patient will complain of constant pain and with stiffness. And if you ask for the history, the pain and stiffness may be presented in the patients for years. And there will be wasting of muscle, especially in the deltoid muscle. Sinus may be present over the shoulder or in the axilla. So sinus means there are some pus drainage either which can be present over the shoulder or in the axilla. And diffuse warmth and tenderness might be there. Warmth, there can be increase in temperature and there will be tenderness and limited movement, and the pain movement will be painful. So because of this ankylosing or the fibrosis, the patient will have some limitation in movement. The patient won't be able to go for any shoulder movements, and even if the patient is trying, the movements will be in a huge painful manner. And there can be axillary lymph node enlargement. So these are the clinical features which we can find in TB shoulder patient. And extra diagnosis, what are the findings which we can find in extra? There will be rarefaction means there can be some abnormalities in the bone density. So there will be reduction in bone density, usually with some erosions in the joint surface. We can see some erosion, so some projections or some. So this is a shoulder X-ray. You can see that the bone gone for some rarefaction. So you can see some dark areas. So the dark areas means the bone density got reduced. And when you look into the joint surface, the joint surface got some eruptions. It's not a normal joint surface, or it's not a normal joint articulating surface. The joint articulating surface gone for some kind of eruptions. So that's what we can found in X-ray of a TB shoulder patient. There may be some abscess cavity in the humerus or in the glenoid with a little or no periosteal reaction. So there can be some kind of cavities or abscess which we can find in X-ray. And it is not necessary that in every case with TB shoulder should have some abscess on the cavity, but there can be or they may not be some abscess. So those are the findings of TB shoulder. Then what will be the treatment? Mainly anti-tubercular drug. So as we have discussed earlier, we have anti-tubercular drug mainly with RNTCP, Revised National Tubercular Control Program. According to that program, we will be starting with anti-TB drug, and shoulder should be rested until acute symptoms has been settled. So once the acute symptoms, the pain and the stiffness, all the symptoms got reduced, we can start with movements. All the normal shoulder movements can be started once the symptoms, the acute symptoms, mainly the pain and the associated symptoms got reduced. We can start with our movements. If they're extensively reduced, joint should be arthrodesis. So arthrodesis means we are so if the joint surfaces are extremely destroyed, that there is no more functional movements are possible with the shoulder joint, we will go for arthrodesis. Arthrodesis is a surgical fusion of the shoulder joint in a functional position. So arthrodesis is a surgical fusion. We are fusing the shoulder joint together, the glenoid labrum and the head together in a functional position. So that has to be done if the destruction is an extensive manner. If the destruction happens in an extensive manner, we should think of arthrodesis in a functional position. So that's about TB of shoulder. Next is TB of elbow. So elbow is affected in about 10 patients with skeletal tuberculosis. So if the patient has a skeletal tuberculosis, in that 10% of patients may have contradicted with the TB of elbow. And it starts with synovitis or osteomyelitis. Patients rarely see until arthritis supervenes. So this also starts with some kind of synovitis. So the patient may be complained with some elbow pain as a usual symptom of synovitis, but until the arthritis signs are predominant, the patient may not have been properly diagnosed with the TB of elbow. So once the stage comes as arthritis, then the diagnosis should be aimed to rule out whether there is a TB suspicion or not. The clinical features: onset is insidious with a long history of aching and stiffness. So the patient might complain of an insidious in onset. That means the pain or the stiffness which happened to the elbow is not caused by any traumatic history. It's not by in a sudden in onset. That means it's not from a moment of origin as like what we can see in the soft tissue injuries, but the pain and stiffness will be an insidious one. That means it may be present for a long period of time, and it might be in aggravation in nature. So the common history what the patient will complain is there will be a aching kind of pain and there will be stiffness for the elbow joint. That might be the symptoms the patient producing. Then the signs, there will be a muscle wasting. So all the muscles which is crossing the elbow region have gone for a huge muscle wasting. And what are the follow-up for the TB elbow? So there will be an active stage. In an active stage, the elbow should be held in a flexed. The elbow will be held in a flexed, swollen, warm, and diffusely tender. So the elbow in a flex position, the patient won't be able to go for complete extension or a complete flexion, but most commonly in a mid flex position or in a 90 degrees of elbow flexion with a swelling over the elbow joint, and the elbow joint in a increased temperature, and it will be in a diffuse tender. So the patient will be complain of tenderness, warm, and swelling of joint. The movement is limited, accompanied with pain and spasm. So all the movements in the elbow joint will be hugely painful and it will be limited. The patient won't be going for complete extension or in a complete flexion. And if you go for the X-ray, you can find out periarticular osteoporosis. All the bones which surround all the bony structures which is surrounded by the elbow joint might have gone for osteoporosis. And as we can see in the shoulder, there can be some kind of joint erosions and subchondral cyst lesions can be seen in the X-ray. So how we can diagnose this one? The aspiration of synovial fluid will be done and the synovial fluid will be sent for biopsy and microbiological examination. So once the aspiration done and the synovial biopsy is done, then we can diagnose whether the patient is having actually a TB elbow or not. And the treatment is general anti-tuberculosis treatment. As like in RNDCP, we'll go for normal anti-tubercular treatment. Elbow is rested until acute symptoms subside. At first, the spleen and position. The elbow is splinted and positioned in 90 degrees of elbow flexion and mid-rotation position. Later, applying collar and cuff and movement are encouraged. So in an acute stage, the patient will be presented with huge amount of pain and stiffness to the elbow joint. So we have to wait till the acute symptoms subsided by the anti-tubercular drug to start with the movements and the active movements for the active movements. So we have to wait till the acute symptoms got subsided. In later residual effect, there will be chronic pain or deformity. So in a residual effect, that means after a long period, there can be a chronic pain and the joint might have gone for some deformities. In that condition, what we'll do? We'll go for arthroplasty or arthrodesis. Arthroplasty, we will be going for joint replacement surgeries, or arthrodesis, we will be fusioning the elbow joint in a functional position. So that's the thing which we need to do in the late residual period. Next is TB of wrist. It's a rare condition. It's not a usual, it's not a common one, it's a rare condition. And as like in all other TB, this also can be presented with pain and stiffness, which is increased gradually. So the patient will be complaining of pain, stiffness, which has been increased since last few months or years. And the hand feels weak and all the grip power, all the hand functions will be lost or in a weak, and all the forearm muscles can go for wasting. The wrist is swollen and warm. Involvement of flexor tendon compartment lead to rise to enlarged flexion swelling that crosses the wrist into palm. So because of this flexor, we have the flexor tendon compartment. If the flexor tendon compartment included, there can be swelling which can be transmitted to the hand complex. So all the tendons which is arising in the flexor region are crossing the wrist joint to insert into the fingers. So if the involvement is there with the flexor compartment, the swelling can be found in the fingers or around the tendons of this flexor muscles. So that can be presented with some kind of palmar ganglion, and in some neglected cases there can be sinus or drainage of pus from the wrist joint. And movement, as like in all other TB of joints, the movements of that particular joint are restricted and it will be painful. And X-ray, we can find some localized osteoporosis, irregularity of radiocarpal and intercarpal joints, and there will be bone erosions. And diagnosis, in wrist joint, we should be going for differential diagnosis to rule out the chances of RA, rheumatoid arthritis. So how we need to rule out whether it is RA or a TB of wrist. So if it is RA, rheumatoid arthritis, usually it will be a bilateral symptom. So all the rheumatoid arthritis are bilateral in nature. So but TB of wrist commonly a unilateral. So one side, if the one wrist is affected, we can much more suspect for TB of wrist if the clinical signs or symptoms are correlated, and if both the wrists are suspected, then we have to rule out whether it is RA or not. And how actually we need to diagnose? We'll go for X-ray and serological examination. We'll go for blood examinations, and we'll go for synovial fluid examinations, and we'll also go for biopsy if necessary to confirm our diagnosis. The treatment will be antitubercular drug, and the wrist will be splinted. And if there is an abscess or if there is a sinus, that means if there is a pus collection and if it is got some sinus drainage to the skin, we will be going for drainage of the abscess. If the wrist is destroyed, as we are continuing with the antitubercular drug, at the same time we have to be think of arthrodesing the wrist joint. We have to go for arthrodesis if the disease is quiescent. That means quiescent means if the disease are settled, there is no signs or symptoms of the disease, but due to the destruction of joint surfaces, we have to go for arthrodesis of joint. Next is TB of knee joint. Maybe it can appear in any age, but it is more common in children. So the clinical features, there will be pain, severe pain. Limping will be there. Limping means the patient won't be able to go for weight bearing in that particular limb. If the right knee is affected, the patient will be having severe pain in right knee while going for any weight bearing function. So that is what called as limping. And the knee joint will be swollen. There will be muscle wasting in the thigh region, mainly the quadriceps and quadriceps muscles, and the movement will be restricted, and all the movements will be painful, either due to the eruptions in the joint surfaces or due to fibrosis and ankylosis. All this can contribute to some amount of movement restriction and a severe painful movements. And investigation will go for Mantoux test, ESR, normal blood examinations. In X-ray, we can found osteoporosis and enlargement of bony epiphysis. If it is in children, the epiphyseal growth, the growth rate can go for enlargement. In late stage, the joint surfaces are eroded. That means the joint surfaces got disruption. There is no proper joint lines and all those things. So in diagnosis, we have to rule out the chances for monoarticular rheumatoid synovitis and juvenile chronic arthritis. So all this has to be ruled out by the help of synovial biopsy. So we will be taking the synovial fluid and send for culturing to find out whether it is actually caused due to the tubercular infection or due to any other infection. So we have to be able to rule out the disease, the TB of knee joint, from monoarticular rheumatoid synovitis and juvenile chronic arthritis. And treatment, general antitubercular chemotherapy for at least 6 to 9 months in So that has to be implemented in the patient. The antitubercular drug has to be taken for at least 6 to 9 months according to the symptoms of the patient. In active stage, the knee is rested in a bed splint to subside the synovitis. But if there is no reduction of the synovitis, surgical debridement of the joint is prescribed. So surgical debridement is that we are going for removal of all the exudate or all the pus or all the tissue eruptions or tissue death caused by this infection. So surgical debridement has to be done if there is no subsiding of symptoms of synovitis. In healing stage, wearing weight relieving caliper gradually left off, but the patient kept under observation for any signs of recurrent inflammation. If articular surface is destroyed, immobilization is continued until the joint stiffness. So in healing stage, the patient has to be in a weight relieving caliper. So it's a orthotic device which is designed to eliminate the weight bearing function of knee joint. So it will be supporting the knee joint from outside to avoid this weight bearing function. And if the signs or symptoms are improving, gradually the caliper can be avoided. And if there is any signs of recurrent inflammation are present, then the caliper has to be continued until the signs and symptoms got reduced. If the articular surfaces are destroyed, then the immobilization has to be continued until the joint got stiffness. So it's something like an arthrodesis procedure that we are allowing the joint go for stiffness. So that has to be thought if the articular surfaces are destroyed. And what we has to be done in the condition, joint may be, if the joint is painful after some time or after the normal healing time, then we have to be thinking of arthrodesising, so that we are planning for fusion of joint surfaces in a function procedure. But in children, usually it postpones until the growth is almost completed. So if the TB got infected in child, we are not able to go for an immediate arthrodesis because the bone has to be in a complete growth. So in the children, the bone will be growing. So until 18 years of age, we are not supposed to go for any arthrodesis procedure, mainly to complete the bone growth. The ideal position for fusion is 15 degrees of flexion and 7 degrees of valgus. So this is an ideal functional position for the knee joint. The knee joint should be flexed to 15 degrees and it should be in a valgus position for 7 degrees. Sometimes joint replacement is also a feasible option. Next is TB of the ankle joint. It starts as a synovitis or as a osteomyelitis. So as a usual thing, it can be started with a synovitis symptom or an osteomyelitis symptom present before true arthritis supervene because walking is painful. So it's not actually like an arthritis condition. Before the symptoms of arthritis conditions, we are able to diagnose mainly because of pain, huge pain during walking. The ankle joint will be in a swollen position and there will be a marked calf muscle wasting. And when we feel the skin will be warm, that means there will be increase in temperature, the movement will be restricted and there can be some sinus formation. So if there is a abscess formation inside the joint, the movement can be restricted and there can be some kind of drainage or the sinus can be present. And in X-ray, as usual, we can find the rare fraction around the ankle joint, and sometimes we are able to find the bone abscess. With late disease, narrowing and irregularity in joint space can be identified. The treatment will be antitubercular drug and removable spleen. The spleen can be used to avoid any muscle contracture or any deformity. So how we need to apply the spleen? It should be applied in a resting position of foot, and also it should be used in a mid flex. It should not be plantar flex or it should not be dorsiflex. It should be in a mid flex position. And if the ankle joint presented with stiffness and arthritis symptoms, we can think of arthrodesis. Again, we will go for surgical fusion of the joint. And what are the common guidelines for joint TB management? Usually 6 months is standard. That means the antitubercular drug has to be delivered for a period of 6 or to 9 months. And there is no actual protocol that whether we should continue only for 12 months, only for 6 months, or we continue for 12 months, or they need any surgery. So all these are complex questions that has to be addressed according to the patient's conditions and signs and symptoms. However, if the treatment is delayed, there can be considerable loss of function and the requirement for extensive surgical intervention. So as long as if we are waiting for if we are delaying the treatment, then there can be a huge complication and we have to be thinking of extensive surgical interventions. And usually the medical therapy is sufficient to subside the infection, and surgery is selected in some cases if it is in spinal cord, and if there is a cord compression, or the spinal cord compression is caused due to the infection, then we have to be thinking of surgery. And if there is any progressive neurological signs and symptoms, then also we have to be thinking of surgery. And if there is a marked kyphosis due to this infection, there also we have to be thinking of surgery. And what are the indications of surgery? If the patient is aged less than 15 years, in whom the initial angle of kyphosis is more than 30 degrees. So we will be assessing the kyphosis with the help of Cobb's angle. If the angle is more than 30 degrees, even if the age is less than 15 years of age, then we can suggestive of surgery if the kyphosis angle is more than 30 degrees in Cobb's angle measurement. Patient started an ambulant chemotherapy who developed progressive kyphosis. Even if the patient is on antitubercular chemotherapy, still the patient is having some increase in kyphosis, then then we have to be thinking of surgical interventions. In children aged less than 10 years with a huge destruction of vertebral bodies who have partial or new fusion even during the program has to be indicated for surgery. In patients with cord compression of spinal cord with a neurological signs deterioration has to be suggestive of surgery if the chemotherapy is not responding well, or that means if there is a cord compression which is caused due to the infection, and if the infection is not subsiding with the help of antitubercular drug, then we have to be thinking of surgical correction or surgical removal of this infection. And then what are the key points which we need to consider when dealing with any patient with joint pains? Peripheral joint tuberculosis should be considered in patient with chronic joint pain. That means that if the pain is present for a longer period of time, or the patient has a history of pain since some years, then we have to be thinking of tuberculosis of joint. And there are other things also which can contribute or which need to be in our mind when we are diagnosing the patient with tuberculosis. Mainly, if the patient is in a tubercular prone area, then if the patient is presented with any of the signs and symptoms, we have to be thinking of tubercular joint involvement. Particularly if there is a swelling present, especially if the patient is from an ethnic group with a high background incidence of tuberculosis. Biopsy and culture is important to identify MDR TB. Chemotherapy is sufficient in many cases and surgery is helpful in some selected cases. So surgery is indicated only if there is a huge involvement of joint articulating surfaces, or if there is a huge deformity, then we have to be thinking of surgical procedures, or otherwise it will be cured with the help of anti-tubercular